Hello, and welcome to another Masturbation Month. All right. So I just got a message saying, "What's taking so long? I'm on here waiting for you." Um, anyway, I'm so excited. I've been enjoying myself in these conversations, and today I have Lydia. Um, so did I say your last name right? I did leave a thing on Instagram, and I said Bonilla. Did I say that correctly?
It's actually Bonilla.
Bonilla. Okay. So
Bonilla,
I was
yeah.
thinking it was like Bonilla, like the Spanish name, like
Yeah.
with the Spanish kind of accent.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
are you
Bonilla.
from?
To like J. Pronounce it
Is
like
it? Mhm. So
Mhm.
what is the Spanish name?
Bonilla. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Awesome. So welcome. Okay, so I've been saying I have Lydia coming on, who's a pleasure strategist. So what is a pleasure strategist? What is that?
Well, a pleasure. What I do is that I in essence help people create the lives that they want to have through the discovery of pleasure, and I particularly work with women on having them have the relationships they've always wanted.
Okay. So I love that. And so tell us a little bit more about yourself before we get on. So you work with you're a pleasure strategist,
Yeah.
and who is Lydia?
Who is Lydia? I'm a lot of things.
I understand that.
Sorry, this is like so annoying me. I'm a Virgo, and it's like I see it on the camera. So
Oh my
weird.
God, I'm a Virgo too, so I understand that. When is your
Oh my
birthday?
God. September 9th.
I'm September 11th.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So you get it.
Yes, I get it.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm tons of things. I mean, I'm a daughter. I'm a sister. I'm a friend. I'm a healer.
Mhm.
Um, where do you where do you want me to start?
So let me ask you, how did you start working with this? Like, how did you start working in this field of sexuality, helping women to feel pleasure?
Yeah. So how I started was really like a fluke. It wasn't anything. When I say a fluke, it wasn't intentional per se.
Hmm.
Um, so what had happened is that I had a personal organizer come to my house because I had a bunch of clutter, and she was in my bedrooms looking through different drawers, and she came across like that drawer, the drawer that in essence, every woman has in her bedroom, and I was like, oh wow, uh, embarrassed. I was like, well, now that the secret is out, what's in there? I was like, where do you put these things? And she said, there's nothing in particular, and you can put it in plastic.
Wait, I'm gonna interrupt you real quick. So for those people that might be a little slow, what is that drawer?
So
What is
like,
that
in
drawer?
essence where where you put sex toys and, the things that you enjoy, whatever that is,
Mhm.
lubricant, this or that, dildo, like I had that drawer. So I looked for a product for myself and I couldn't find it. I did all sorts of things. Like I took a jewelry box and I took the insert out and nothing fit, because some of these stores can get big. And so I just forgot about it and I went to go do something else. And so months later, I went to Babeland to replace the vibrator. And I said, do you have any storage products for sex toys? And she
Mhm.
said, no, but we get that question all the time. And I went, oh, wow, then I'll just make one. And I left the store and got on Facebook and asked people, where do you put, sex toys? And everyone had all these random places. And I went, wow, there might be something to this as far as making one. So, I just did, research and spoke with different people and, just really took one step after the other. And I realized, wow, this is something that I actually could enjoy doing.
Mhm.
Though I have a financial background, I was a banker I was in finance for like 20 years.
Right.
I always had, a creative side. I always had, a creative expression of some sort. And I figured, why not, product development? Why not selling products? So I created it, and here it is.
So I could probably definitely use one because this is my where I keep my sex toys.
Oh, yeah. What is that saying? What does that say, Mr. Cat?
Yes, Mr. Cat. So this
Yeah,
is
no, not that.
it's actually a shoe bag.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yep, shoe bag. And the crazy thing is I live in a Buddhist temple. So so this is funny. One time I left and then I left Brazil and I
Yeah.
just went to travel and I couldn't come back because of visa issues. They're like, you gotta wait 6 months. And I had my stuff all out, like in my drawer. I had, the toys out in that drawer, right? And then when I found out I couldn't, they were like, I had to tell the temple. And they were like, okay, well, we're gonna pack up your room because, just in case someone else wants to rent it out until you come back. And I was like, oh shit. So I was like, okay, well, I have to tell you guys something. I have a lot of toys and you guys are going to find all of them. So don't freak out, okay?
That's so funny. What was the response? What did they say?
Oh, what can they say? They were like, okay. Okay. And well, I'm back. So, they were like too shocked and like, oh my God, that heathen, So it was cool. Let me just say hi to the people coming on. Hello, Regine, Tosh. Well, or I guess Regine is tagging Tosh to come on. Hello. Thank you guys for coming on. I want you to also, any questions that you might have, any comments, let us know, so we can answer these questions too. So we're here for you as well. So yeah, I love that idea of a storage place because had I had it in a storage, they wouldn't have they had to see it. It would have been in that. So now this is why now I have this bag that I keep it all in, so at least they could just, if that ever happens, they can just take the bag.
Right.
But that's such a good idea. Such a good idea. And now when the organizer came in and was helping you to organize and went into that drawer, did you feel like embarrassed? Did you feel shame?
I did. I at first, there was like it sort of happened slow motion, like she's gonna open that drawer. And I honestly had some toys in there I should have thrown out. Like I had my first vibrator in there that was like big orange and like cheap. I was like, oh gosh, she's gonna think I'm like, as the Brits say, low end. I was like, well, or that I'm low rent. I was like, oh, I'm not
Right.
more class than this, but I was actually more concerned than that. I was like, oh God, they're not even like, it's not even a nice toy in there.
Right.
But yeah, that was really, my concern,
Okay. And so how was it for you, like when you first decided, because I know many women, and you work particularly with women in their 30s and 40s.
Yes.
So two-part question, why that age range? And then what did you start to like begin to masturbate and start doing like self-pleasuring and connecting to your body, your sexuality?
Yeah, the reason why I work with women in their 30s and 40s is because that's like an elevated whole range. When I say
Elevated whole range.
Yeah, an elevated whole range. Oh, a range of age where your hoism is of a higher level.
Yeah.
In my 20s, I did whatever I wanted because I could. But it wasn't with any real intention other than I could,
Right.
And women in their 30s and 40s are more intentional as far as like what they want to experience, the life that they want, and goals and whatnot. And it's more of a focus on fulfillment versus just having fun. Though I must say that I have worked with some women in their like late 20s, and just really depends kind of like where you are in the stage of your journey.
Yeah.
And the second question you asked me was about self-pleasure. When I started to do that, I discovered that, I actually do remember when I discovered that. I was dating someone, it was in college. I was dating someone who we never had intercourse for whatever reason, or we had intercourse like rarely, but he loved eating pussy. Like he loved it. And that's like what we primarily did. And he was like away, like he was somewhere, like he, you know, we weren't together. And I was like, what am I gonna do?
Right.
And I just started exploring, and I was like, oh wow, this is cool. Because I had tried before, but it was like, oh, either I didn't know what I was doing or it just didn't feel great. But I was like, oh, and then I had like an orgasm for him. I was like, oh, okay.
Right. And you know, and it's so, I like that you said that, like you didn't know what you were doing, you know, and so many women don't. And this is why I work in this field. This is why I work in this area. And I actually teach women how to, you know, how to self-please, because we weren't taught that. And even these conversations aren't normal. Like a lot of people aren't having these conversations.
Yeah.
And I actually just had a friend of mine call me today. He saw my live on Monday. And he was like, oh my God, like there were so many things I learned. And he, you know, he really had questions because he has a girlfriend, and he's like, how, you know, what kind of orgasms can a woman have? And, you know, and then he's like, can all women squirt? And he's asking me these things, you know, and I was like, you know what, let's do it live. You and I are going to do it live, because I think it's good that you're asking as a guy. And I tend to have a lot of guys come on, and they're always asking questions on these things. And I think it's good. And I think more of these conversations should also be had with men and women as well. And all of mine have been women on here, you know, and that's been good. And so like I came from this Christian background, and I had all this guilt. My family's from Haiti, and you know, and so it's like it's that I felt bad. Like I was like, I can't have sex until I get married. That's what I'm supposed to do. And then when I started having sex before I got married, all this shame, all this guilt. So needless to say, like I never even tried to touch myself. Like sexuality, like no.
Yeah.
I have sexual energy, but you know, I was thought this is all wrong. And so I didn't really start until really masturbating and exploring until I was like in my 30s, my early 30s. And it was because of Ariel. She's like, write this. I have this magazine, and I want you to write on it in this. And it was going to be about, It was for the magazine Corset, you know, when she was in a whole different stage.
Yeah.
And I had to write about masturbation. And I was like, I can't write about something that I'm not really doing. So then that's when I started doing it. And that first time it was like, just felt nasty. Like it didn't feel good. And I was like, oh my God. So like, I literally had to like work through that and get to the point where now it does feel good, you know? And so I could write a really good article, you know, I'm like reading all these different things, and I'm, you know, experimenting on myself and going through that process. And that really made a difference for me. So it's just important that women self-please, they connect to themselves, and it also helps to improve your relationship with whoever you're in, with your partner, so that you also know what you're like and you're empowered. So I love that you're doing this work as well to help empower women, you know?
Yeah, you know, and the interesting thing is that we have, you know, similar backgrounds in that regard. You know, I grew up in a Caribbean home. My parents are Cuban and Dominican. My mom is a Jehovah's Witness, and you know, their conversation around sex is you don't do it.
Right.
And but I had the opposite reaction around sex. I was like, sort of like, I would say rebellious, but very curious about it. Because I saw it as a source. I've always saw it as a source of empowerment. I remember being in church and looking at a picture of Mary Magdalene. And Jehovah's Witnesses are very illustrative when it comes to, you know, different teachings and stuff. And so there was a book there was like, you know, Mary Magdalene, I think. And she, you know, was portrayed, their portrayal of her was someone who in the Bible is like, oh, you know, she was loose and blah, blah, blah. But the way that the depiction of her was, to me, was very empowering. She was like she was looking sultry. She was looking right at the illustrator. She was like making direct eye contact. She was open like this, and she had like a shoe dangling from her toe. And I was like, I want to be like her. I'm like, what are they talking about that she's all this? I was like, all right, I want to be like her. And I used to sit in church and wonder who was having sex and who wasn't. Because I was convinced that all the girls were having sex because they were coming out pregnant. So I was like, she's fucking. So I just always had a curiosity about it. Yeah, I wasn't ashamed.
Right. Hello to those coming on. Hello, Mez. Hello, Yusuf and Sao Paulo. Thank you. And so how do you think, so you've always kind of, been connected, connected to your sexuality. How do you feel like being connected to your sexuality empowered you?
Well, I was connected to it, but not always empowered. And there's a difference. So when I started having sex, I had sex because the boy said, this is what you do because you say you love me. And then I did that for a while. Probably until like my mid-20s. Sex was like what you did when you got to a certain point, or they wanted to, and okay, this is my offering to you. I enjoyed it, but it was never. I didn't understand the power of it yet for myself. It wasn't until I started reading about it and doing more research and learning what self-love was that I became empowered. And how it's empowered me is like it's a choice that I have always, and it's a choice that I make. No one can take it away from me, and it literally impacts everything around my life. So that's how it empowers me as a woman.
Was it easy? Was it difficult for you to get to that stage of empowerment? And I ask, like, I have a lot of female clients that I work with now, who I'm actually working with them in this stage. Who women we were conditioned to please our partner. We were conditioned to take care of everyone else and do for everyone else and put ourselves last. So, even me, like I thought, okay, I might not like something or enjoy something, but I'm going to do it, because that's going to make him feel good. My partner feel good. A lot of women, were that way. So was it hard? Was it easy for you to become more empowered and say, okay, this is what I like. This is my body, and think about yourself and be okay with thinking about yourself, not feeling selfish. So many of us feel selfish. Like if we put ourselves first, or if we think of ourselves, and what we want,
Yeah. Was it difficult? It wasn't ever like, it was a gradual process. It wasn't one day where I said, okay, this is it or something, I do know, like in my relationships, there became certain things that were like not okay. So for example, I was in a long-term committed relationship with someone who didn't like oral sex, and or at least didn't like performing it. And I was with him, and then I didn't get, how much this was like an issue for me, until we were no longer together for other reasons. And then I was like, oh, I will never, ever do that again. I will never be in a committed relationship with somebody who doesn't like oral sex. Matter of fact, I won't have sex with anybody who doesn't like oral sex. So I think it's just an awareness that comes over time.
Right, right. And so you work with women on helping them get to this stage.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so what else do you do? I know, you have the House of Plume where you have storage boxes for toys. You have any of those boxes there?
Yeah, I do actually.
I would
This is
love to see one.
the purple one. So it's I'm on the camera. So this is
Oh,
the eggplant. And this is what it looks. There's a lock actually that goes here. So for those who travel and are concerned,
yeah.
like you were, like, oh my God, when people gonna find my sex toys? And there's a case, travel case that goes inside.
Uh-huh.
And it has a charging slot in the back.
Right.
And then on the bottom, you can keep larger toys. There's like the travel case sits on the top on like on a lip, and you can put larger toys on the bottom.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. I like that. And you have some with like all kinds of different designs or?
Well, I have this one in another color, in smoke, which is a nice grayish color. And yeah, and that's what I offer. I'm actually in the process of closing this company. And really not because of anything other than it's time just to, do something different and focus on coaching clients and on, bringing that full speed into the world. It'll be the first time in my career ever that I've only done one job. I've always done multiple things, multiple projects, multiple things. And I'm like, wow, I've never allowed myself to just have one thing.
I'm going to say good luck with that because you're a Virgo. Good luck with that.
I'm sure I'm going to get into something else.
You will.
But I'm just like, wow, just one thing. let's
Virgos can't do that. Virgos can't do that. I've been trying for years. No, don't let me influence you.
Yeah, it's fine.
But I'm a Virgo, and I was reading this thing for the quarantine, and they're like, based on your sign, how do you de-stress? And for Virgos, it says sleep. Because
I pick up projects. I start picking up, creating things. Or it always starts with a question like, I wonder if I could, or I bet other people have that same thing.
Right.
It always starts with that. This actually coaching or this as a career actually chose me. I didn't necessarily choose it. I ran away from it for years, and I'm like, but people kept saying, you would make a really great coach. Why aren't you doing that? And I'm like, I was afraid of being like too, not say connected, but like of like going all in with someone's issues and then like getting like overwhelmed emotionally. But I have ways of managing that, particularly since I over the last year discovered that I'm highly sensitive, which is totally new.
Yeah. Yes. So awesome. So right now, like, what are you seeing like with clients coming in? So I've talked about this. I haven't talked about this recently, but I've talked about it before. Like right now, we're in this quarantine, and there are some people who are with their partners, others who aren't, and what advice could you give to people who might be separated, from their partner, and they're having a difficult time, and maybe they don't know how to, like, masturbating is uncomfortable or using toys are uncomfortable. I don't know. What do you think?
Oh,
oops.
Sorry. I lost you. Tripod just went wild. So that depends. Like separate. It's like a context of. I think the context of like you're separated. Okay, why? Because you're quarantined, or like is it you're separated because you want to be separated. I think when there's a desire and a commitment around something, you can always have something work. So for example, FaceTime is great. Like I actually have had sex over FaceTime during this quarantine, which has been interesting. It's like, oh, that's not something I would, normally do with technology. I'm like, I don't know. So, not having that opportunity to be connected, I think you really have to like go into communication and talk a lot more. What I'm finding is that, texting and even like video or Zoom, it has its limitations. And I think we still just have to focus on actual communication, like actually speaking to one another. So it depends on, what the person thinks is like sexy. You can read each other erotica. One thing that I like is I like scents. I like smells. When I meet someone, I'm very much connected to the way they smell. And so the person that I'm dating, last time I saw him, he brought me like his wife beater and it had his scent on it. I was like, oh, this is great. So those are, something like that is something that, creates connection for me. So it depends on what creates connection for another person. But that is very, per person. It's just, to answer your question, it really just takes a commitment to do so.
Okay, true. And so, and piggybacking on what you said about the scents and different things, it's so interesting because there's so many ways to please a person. And I'm just kind of thinking about in relationship now, as opposed to individually. And I think a lot of times in traditional relationships, people learn from porn. So they're just watching porn.
Yeah.
And so a man might come in, and do what he's watched in porn and try to do that to get the woman off. And there's so many different ways of turning a woman on or turning a man on. Right. We have so many pleasure spots throughout our bodies. And so, we can be orgasmic from, like you said, smelling a certain scent or, smelling the wife beater. For me, I love my head being touched. That's so good. Or my feet, and I can have orgasms from you even just kind of like scraping your hands on my feet. And it's just like, that just sends a rush of pleasure. And I think that there's just so much out there that needs to be explored. And we just kind of limit it to the genitals. And there's so much beyond that, and so even with self-pleasing, going beyond just focusing on the genitals. Yeah. Cause like, so many women, it's like, okay, let me go to my clit. And I'm like, go back and forth on the clit or trying to give me a G-spot and not feeling anything. But it's like no end goal, just kind of getting to connect to your body, to learn your body and exploring the different areas to see what feels good for you.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Galgam says, I'm a fan of both of you ladies. I have a question for the both of you, actually. In regards to self-pleasure, oral sex, or sexual inhibitions in general, have you found a difference regarding data older versus younger men, U.S. men versus foreign men? That's a good question. You want to go first? Or shall I go first?
I can answer that question. So I think everybody likes eating pussy. Most men do, and they, don't want to admit it. Probably older men have gotten the awareness that, hey, this is like the keys to the kingdom here. Focusing on, her focusing on clitoral stimulation. But I've dated younger and older, and that's fine. I don't know about the diaspora of men out there. There's definitely people or cultures where it's it's frowned upon. That it's, to put your mouth on genitals is considered dirty. But I'm not come across them, so I don't know personally.
Okay. So I've traveled extensively and have experimented with various types of men from different cultures. um, so it's so interesting. So speaking in general, because you can't really generalize, it really is based on that individual person, and each person is different, whether they're younger or older. I've had when I was younger, I had younger men who did a lot more than older men that I've dated now, So I think a lot of it depends on their cultural their upbringing, in terms of, they have this upbringing regarding shame of sexuality. At one point, there was a lot of men who didn't want to do oral sex because they thought that was nasty. They thought it was bad, and let alone if the woman was bleeding, And so you have those differences, but it depends on the person, really, right? I would hope to think when they get older, they become more educated, and so that they know that, this is a part of sex and it's a beautiful thing. Even menstrual blood, there's been times there's some men who freaked out by that, and there's other men who are fine doing oral sex when you're in your period.
I'm not okay with it. I'm just like, no.
Let me tell you, I love that. You know why? Because I am the horniest when I'm on my cycle. But one of the things I do, and I didn't know that until I had an ex who he was the first one to do it. I was at his house and I was on my cycle, and he was like, "Well, I want to do this." I was like, "No, I'm on my cycle." And he's like, "Well, go take a shower and put on a tampon." So I took a shower, I put on a tampon. I was like, "All right, I guess the blood is not going to get on him." And he did it, and it felt so much better, like 10 times better. And I think it's because on that cycle, I don't know, like something is happening biologically, and it just because in general, like I love it, but I notice when I'm on my cycle, it's 10 times better. So if the guy is fine with that, I'm in a relationship and he's fine, I'm down. Yeah. But I did
something to try. Something to try. I've always turned it down, like, yeah, no, I'm good, thanks. Let's wait. Yeah, but I definitely am more aroused when I'm on.
Yeah, you are. I mean, and that's a natural thing. I'm definitely more aroused. And so I think for me, even later, once I started studying Tantra, I learned more and more that your menstrual blood is actually healthy. Like there's a lot of nutrients in it. This is what nutrients your child, because it's that blood. So, and even in different tribes within Africa, a lot of like the shamans, they dry their menstrual blood, and if someone is sick, and they'll give that to them. One of the things I do, I give my plants my menstrual blood, and it helps them flourish. My plants flourish. And in some tantric traditions, the women drink their blood because that's a way of losing energy. So they drink it, or they do specific exercises to reabsorb the menstrual cycle so that blood is not coming out. So now, knowing this information about how healthy and how good the menstrual cycle is, I definitely don't have an issue with it, but I do make sure that, I'm coming straight out the shower. Now I don't use tampons, I use a collective cup. So I'm using that, and it's, and it's all good. US men versus foreign men. So when we think about foreign men, there's so many countries out there, So it depends on the country. There are some men. Well, I live in Brazil right now. So, Mrs. Stalgian said you're going over the top now, Renee. You asked. So, I live in Brazil, and Brazilian men I have found to be much more open than the American men that I've been with. They're like, they'll do a lot. They do a lot. And I think they're just, they're more sexually, they're like hotter, and so they just that's just what they love. You know, they're good at it. I think, you know, I can't even say anything else. Let me just say I've been living in Brazil for 10 years and there's a reason.
All right. Everybody move to Brazil.
All right. So hope that answered your question. So I take it that Mr. Staljam also doesn't like to do the oral sex during those specific times of the month, since he said I'm going over the top. So anyone else have any questions? Show that. Any other questions? That's really good. So this is your time to ask. So yeah. So I think I was gonna say something else before he asked that question. I don't remember now. But anyway, maybe it'll come back to me. So yeah, so what's one thing, like if you could give one piece of advice to, let's say, like a 16-year-old girl who's at that stage where she wants to explore her sexuality, what would be that one piece of advice you would give to that 15, 16? Well, you know, kids are starting to have sex a lot earlier now, like at 11, 12, 13 maybe.
That's not a new thing. That's like not new. I remember I grew up in Miami, and I remember that I'll just answer that question. So somebody was curious about where to buy it. It's houseofplume.com. So house and then OFPLUME.com. And I'm actually having a half off sale at $49. So $49.99. So have at it. There you go. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I remember in school there were people experimenting at 11, 12, and all of that. It was kind of like hush hush, and you knew the girls that were doing it and the girls that were not, and all of that. So I think girls are developing quicker. Children are developing quicker due to the food that they eat. That I think with the hormones that they're consuming. But people have been fucking early since forever.
True.
So what I would say to a girl that's like 16 is do whatever you want, just don't get pregnant.
That's good.
Yeah.
Do whatever you want, just don't get pregnant.
Yeah, just don't get pregnant before time, and that your body is your own. What I didn't know at 16 was that sex was meant to be pleasurable. It was not like my my exchange, my barter exchange, like you take me out, okay, I have sex with you. Or not that I did that like right away, but it was just like, okay, this is I like this guy, he can do this and that for me, and okay, sure, we'll have sex at some point. But it was never like, wow, I'm doing this because I really like it, or I enjoyed it, but it wasn't the reason why I did it. And that it's okay to say, definitely it's okay to say no and to mean no. Make sure your yes is a yes, a hell yes, and your no is a no. Don't be like in between. Because it just takes your own power away to not be certain when it comes to your body.
Right. So I like that. I'm just thinking about that. Yeah. So I'm gonna just add on to that. What I would tell a 16-year-old girl: masturbate.
That's it.
Yes, masturbate. Because I think that's one of the things too that help them kind of connect to their body, know their body, and own their body. I know a couple of people women who actually cannot self-please. Like they can't come to orgasm only by having a man or their partner, woman, helping them reach that. And
Yeah.
so it's, and that's kind of sad that a woman can't get to that point on her own and she has to depend on someone else. I'm actually in a group on Facebook, and this month for Masturbation Month, I had asked, how many women are, masturbating every day, or, masturbating more for Masturbation Month? And one lady put on there, I've never masturbated, and I'm waiting for my partner to help me to explode. And I was like, if you actually know your body and you self-please, that's going to help your partner help you to explode. And actually, one step farther is you can help yourself explode, and we can't be dependent on someone else. I have a friend here who I'll be telling all these different sex stories to, and she's like, "Oh my God, how are you always like having a great time? Like, why?" Like, and I'm like, "Because I know my body. Like, I'm not depending on someone else." And I think a lot of times when you try to depend on someone else, then you can be let down. You're setting yourself up and you're setting them up. So you have to be able to help guide them, because your partner can't know it all. Your partner
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
know it
your partner can't know it all. And I tell women that your orgasm is really your responsibility, and it's all yours. You own it 100%. And remember, I was speaking on a panel in front of like mostly women. It was like a tech space talking about sex, and the crowd was so like got angry with me when I said that. They were like, "What do you mean?" Like, because men have it like it's their badge of honor that
right.
I made you come. And I said, no, you don't make me come. I
Right.
made myself come, and you just happen to be there. And they're like,
Exactly.
"Oh my God, could you say something like that?" They were so upset. And I said, you want to look at it this way, that, when it doesn't happen, when she doesn't come, it's also not your fault. It's her responsibility. It's her body. And they were like, "Oh, okay, I got it." Because when a woman does an orgasm, they go right to, what did I, what I did, I must have done something wrong. I didn't do this, I didn't do that, or what is it? Do you not like me? And they make it really, really personal, make it about them. When in fact it's really her job to know what works for her body and what doesn't, and for her to be able to communicate that if you're not like on the same page, like voila, the first time out the gate.
Mm-hmm. So true, so true, so true. And I think for men, there's a lot of ego and pride in that, and so, it's like can't bruise their ego, So it's like, wait a minute, what do you mean?
Yeah.
So
Well, men are results oriented. They want that's
true.
their results that they got, and like, okay, I get, I did a good job because of the result. And if the result is not, full blown orgasm, then I did not do something right.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't care about bruising egos. That's not my problem.
Right. That's a good point. That's a good point. So hello, Elisa. Hello, everyone who's coming on now. And Sandra has a question. Do you find that sexually you become more adventurous later in life? And is there still a stigma to multiple partners? How old are you, Sandra? Just curious to know. But you wanna go at that first?
Yeah, so being sexually and more sexually adventurous, absolutely. I think you become more aware. You just become more aware about what you like and what you don't like. One thing that I've explored now that that I didn't explore when I was in my 20s was BDSM. I love being dominated. It's awesome, and it wasn't something that I was comfortable like talking about, even asking about. It was just it was like, Black people don't do that. Like, what are you talking about, slave and all that? It was like all these, stigmas, even to this, even like, dating now. Some men are like, no, that's, that's taking it too far. That's too much for me. So yeah, I think you do. It's sort of like being in a pool that's kind of cool at first. It takes you a little while to get acclimated to the water, and you move out and you go, okay, yeah, I can do this. I can be in here. So, exploring yourself sexually is not it's not a destination to get to. It's an exploration. It's a journey. You change over time. Your body changes over time. Your brain changes over time. Sex happens in the brain. And it's having multiple partners. I think there is a stigma I think multiple sexual, no matter how far we've advanced as a society or as a global society around dating and sex, women traditionally have always been seen as property. And even, our laws around property are still that women are property. And, for you to be gallivanting around with multiple people, it's like, that's, you're disrespecting my property. Though that might not be the first thought. That's how we've been conditioned to think. And so, yeah, there's still a stigma, and it depends, I guess, also where, who are the people you hang out with, because there's also now, as being polyamorous has gotten more socially acceptable, there are more people doing that now, or being more comfortable admitting to it, to the point where it's like, I don't know if you poly, I think you just messy. Like, that's not really being poly. I think you just like fucking multiple people and you messy at it. You're not polyamorous. It's a different. I know people who are, in fact, who are polyamorous, and it's like, no, it's a choice I have in being I'm happier being on multiple people versus people who just want to fuck multiple people and call themselves poly to feel, I don't know, with it or something.
Yeah. Sandra says, not all at once. I'm not sure. I guess it's something you were saying.
I don't know. Not all at once. Is it like having multiple partners during one session of sex? Is that what she's referring to? Or
can you clarify what you mean, Sandra? So so for me, I'm going to answer that first part of that question. I have definitely become more adventurous later in life. I think for me, it was just like, fuck it. I don't give a fuck what nobody thinks. I enjoy myself. I'm enjoy life. I think when you're younger, you still have a lot of hangups about what people think, what people are going to say about you. As you get older, you stop caring. Like, you realize none of that really matters. They're not doing anything for you. None of these people who are judging, people that even judge, is because they have their own stuff, their own issues. They wish they could do what you were doing, And so I think for me, that's one of the things, like, it just let me kind of let go. And I think the older that I'm getting is when I started trying those new different things. Like, I had an ex who wanted to do the swingers club, and first time I was like, oh, I'm not going to no swingers club, but eventually I was like, okay. And then I realized how much I enjoyed it. It's not something I do now. Like, I did it then and I enjoyed it. I think if I enter another relationship and he wants to, I'll probably go again, because I had, good memories from that. That's not innate in me to, be like, I'm a swinger and that's what I, have to do in every relationship. And I realized, I think doing that helped me to realize that, oh my God, I'm actually okay. Because I used to think that I had a lot of jealous bones in my body. And for me to go to that, I just kind of felt like, oh no, I would get pissed off. And the crazy thing is, I actually saw, my ex, at the time, we had the swingers club. And when he was with this woman in there, that actually turned me on. And I was like, what the hell? I'm getting turned on watching him do this woman and then watching her do him. And I was like, but I didn't have any interest in her husband, so I didn't do anything with him. And so the couple times that I went in there, like, I wasn't necessarily interested in doing stuff with the other guys that was there. But I actually allowed him to do whatever, and it turned me on. And then I wanted to just fuck the hell out of him after that. And I was like, what? Where is that coming from? But I would have never known had I never went, And so, like I see your faces. You're like, where?
It's like for me, it's like germs. It's like, oh God, multiple, liquids and things. I'm like, I start to think, how many things are swimming around in here? Who are you?
Virgo.
I swear it is. It's not even like I'm like my body, or it's just like, where have you been?
Right.
Who are you? Like I went to years ago. I went to hedonism. And I mean, and I was, and only really the reason why I was curious about it, but I was curious about it, but really I was going because I had overstayed a visa in Cuba and I couldn't go directly from Cuba to the US. So I was like, oh, I'll just be a couple of days in Jamaica. And I was the most awkward swinger. I was awkward at it. I was like, okay. No thanks.
Right. And that's the whole thing. And I think that's the beauty of sexuality.
Yeah. And it was great, figuring that out and knowing
figuring it out and knowing.
I don't
and not everything's for everyone. So, you have what you enjoy and you know what you enjoy and you be the best at it.
Yeah. And it was totally fine. And, they have free top shelf liquor and
I've been to hedonism as well. Yeah. Yeah, I've been there as well. Loved it. So that's the thing. And is there still a stigma? So to multiple partners? I think so. In my opinion, I think there's always going to be a stigma. Like that's not going to leave. I think the thing is that as you get older, you might not allow that stigma to bother you anymore. You don't allow what society says is a taboo or is wrong to affect you, and you do you. So that's the thing. So I just thought about it when you brought up the BDSM. I'm actually going to be having a sacred kink retreat, finding sexuality in your spirituality. And so I was trying to do a screen share, but I couldn't figure out how to do that. So anyway, but check that out. It's going to be really in that is just a way to explore. So it's not going to be very intense in the kink and BDSM, like you're not going to get tied up and things like that. This is all virtual. And so it's about learning to explore yourself and know what you want. So in this retreat, we're going to be talking about consent, communication, how to be able to express what you're wanting, what you don't want, what you like, how to explore in a safe realm, and then we'll do a little bit of play, kind of light. And so that's going to be in June 12th to June 14th, 3 days over a weekend. And it's just a good way to kind of learn about yourself and explore. And that's one of the things that I've done, like, a while back, I guess I kind of entered into the kink world, when I was still in the States, because I had an ex who, we were having sex and he wanted to choke me. So I was like, okay, you can choke me. Because, I'm one of those people who will try anything, like, as long as I know I'm not going to die. Even though choking sounds like, but, he did it and that didn't do nothing for me. So I was like, no, I'm not enjoying this at all.
Yeah, I don't love to choking either. I'll do it. And I'm like, okay, but I won't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, but it was kind of cool to experience because now I know, I don't like that, and so just through that, I've learned different things. Just through my explorations, I've learned different things of what turns me on. Like I would have never thought seeing my man with another woman would turn me on, but it did. I would have never thought I got off on having people watch us have sex because we would be in a swingers club and having sex and other people watching, and that turned me on. So, it's just about exploring and seeing what feels good to you and what doesn't, and knowing how not to. learning how to set up your safe words, different things to do. I'll be giving different resources on different books and different places that you can kind of explore more to learn more about this realm. And it's really all about getting to know you, you
Yeah.
know. So Sandra said multiple partners at once in one session. So
Yeah,
I
there's no
guess,
stigma on it. Do it anyway. There you
yeah,
go.
yeah, yeah. So Sandra, you didn't answer. How old are you? I'm just curious to know if you don't mind sharing that. Um, and I'll say I'm 45 years old. I'm about to be 46 September 11th, you know. And I would say I'm drastically different now than when I was 20, than
Oh
when I
yeah.
was 30, you know. And I like that you work with the 30 and 40 because, yeah, 35, you know, they say women get to her sexual peak. But I was like, yeah, my sexual peak lasted a long time. I would definitely say way up into my 40s.
Mm-hmm.
Way up into 40, 41, probably even still. No, now I'm up kind of, I'm good, you know. Um, but yeah, yeah. So, yeah, I think it's just good to just kind of explore and see what you like, see what feels good to you. Because
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I think it's like it's you know, it's your responsibility to have the most pleasurable life that you can. And it's totally up to you, you know, how you decide to express yourself while you are here and why you have the option of being here. You know, pleasure is your God-given right, and it's your responsibility.
right, right. So, this has been really good. Like this is it's been some great information. So do you have any stuff coming up? Anything coming up?
Yes. So what I do have going on is that I'm actually offering a 7-day masterclass on pivoting. It's called the Pleasure Pivot, or in essence, giving yourself permission to pivot. Because ironically, it's something that I created it's like I created this way before the pandemic, but now I see it as something like really vital. And the premise is really like, you know, everything in life is uncertain. It always was uncertain, and now we definitely know it's uncertain because there's things that have happened that you might have thought never would happen. And so now that everything's in question, and or at least now you know that everything's in question, how can you create your life such that you're actually enjoying it and really taking on, you know, pleasure full force. So what I'm doing is walking you through pivoting in an area of your life for a week, for 7 days, and that is coming up in June.
When in June?
That is a good question. I'm looking at the calendar. Where is my
Well, that's
calendar?
fine. So we know in June, but will people be able to find it or the information on your website, House of Plume, or Instagram?
Yeah, they'll definitely be able to find it on Instagram.
Okay, awesome, awesome. So yeah, so that's some good stuff. Like just getting to that pivot point, you know, and working past
Yes.
that pivot. Because I think a lot of women get to that pivot, you know, and then it's like, okay, now what?
Yeah, or you punk out. You know,
Oh, you
one
want
things
that.
that you do is that you punk out. Like you go the more I want to say punk out, but you go the more comfortable route. And now we have the opportunity to really do whatever it is that you want, because for some of us, some people have no other option but to create something new. So that's that's what I'm really excited about offering right now.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. It sounds really good. It sounds really good. So yeah, definitely go to Lydia's site and check out that information on houseofplume.com, or check her out on Instagram at Lydia.bonilla. Bonilla.
Yeah. Yeah.
or House of Plume. So I have Dominican in my family, right? And so, you know,
What
and I
part
just
of Dominican Republic?
Huh?
What part?
Oh,
Do you know what part? Do you know
I
what
don't
part?
know what part. The internet is going out. I don't know what part where. Yeah, but I remember it's funny because I have family. My family's from Haiti and Dominican. You know what? I have my cousin who lives in Dominican Republic right now. He would probably be like, "You don't know where I live?" And I sure don't know where he lived. So I still actually have family who live there. In Dominican Republic, but I have no idea where. Like, I'm not even gonna say Santo Domingo because I don't know.
Yeah, that's the capital. Yeah.
Yeah, but I've been to Santo Domingo, and so anyway, I should have a better pronunciation of your last name, especially since I speak Spanish and Portuguese. But
Okay.
anyway, um, so guys, if you have not subscribed to my channel, subscribe to my channel. I got more coming up this month for May for Masturbation Month. You know, I got some more people coming on next Monday and next Wednesday. It's going to be great. We're going to be ending it off with a bang so you can catch these upcoming shows. Also, I really do want to share with you my Patreon account. If you have not joined me on Patreon, join me on Patreon because I have things on there that you're not going to get on YouTube. You're not going to get on Facebook. You're not going to get on my courses. So it's exclusive. I can share more things, go more in depth on Patreon because it's not so like, you know how every place else censor. Yes. You know, you think you live free, but Patreon, we can really get in and do the work and not have to worry about censorship. So join me on Patreon. I'm Prandata Prem, PRANDHERAPREM. And you can reach me on Instagram as well at Prandata Prem, Twitter, Renee Adolfi, Facebook, Renee Adolfi, and my website is prandataprem.com. If you are interested in doing this retreat, sacred kink retreat, finding spirituality in your sexuality, it's going to be great. It's only $67 per person. That's a special price for this quarantine. And then we're going to be doing $100 per couple. So we're going to have that. So actually, thinking of that, I actually have another question. We ain't going to end just yet because something else came to mind. So speaking of the quarantine, Lidia, what do you have? What can you say to people in quarantine? Oh, we kind of talked about that. We talked about the masturbation, didn't we? But we talked about that, didn't we? Quarantine sex.
Yeah, we talked about quarantine sex. Yeah.
Yeah, we did. Okay. Yeah, I don't know, for some reason, I feel like maybe we need to talk more about that. That came to me again. I don't know. So does anyone have any questions or anything? We're in quarantine. Stay safe. A lot of people are kind of trying to come out and have sex. So, you know, I have guys like sending me messages trying to get me to come out to go see them because, you know, Brazil is even harder than the States because Brazilians are just so used to touching. And this is just a touchy-feely country. And I'm like, I'm not risking it. I mean, it's not worth it. Like, I don't feel like I'm going to die from coronavirus, but it's painful. And
it's painful. It can go on a long time and have different, things. Like I have some friends that I know that have had it, have lost, their sense of smell and the sense of smell and taste goes in and out. Like whatever, I could recover, but I certainly don't want it. It's not a cold, and I don't want any parts of that. So
no. Don't want any parts of that.
Don't want a part.
And then there's also the thing of being like socially responsible. Because like I can get it, and then what if I give it to someone else? And I live with other people here, and I give it to someone else, and then what if they die? Then that guilt is going to be on me. Yeah. So I feel like it's not just about me right now. So dick is not worth all of that. Dick is not worth me going through all of that pain. It's not worth me feeling guilt if I get it and pass it on to someone else, and then they die.
You may never know. You may never know.
You just never know. So. Anyway, so stay safe, think, make smart choices. Don't do something based on what you're feeling at the moment. Like, oh my God, I need to masturbate. Use your hands. And one of the things that I do like to say when I talk about the masturbation is conscious masturbation. So not just kind of watching porn. Not that I have anything against porn, but don't just watch it and be all in the fantasy world. Really connect to your body and you'll see a difference. Like be present in your body. And when you're masturbating, breathe, connect to your body. Don't be in a fantasy thinking about this sexy man or this hot woman or whatever, but think about you. Think about how beautiful you are and how great you feel and take your masturbation to the next level.
Right. Yeah. It's masturbation can provide, so much. And, it's not just about, getting off. It can create so much. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So I want to thank you, Lidia. Thank you guys. Thank you, first of all, everyone who came on and asked some questions. And thank you, Lidia. This was awesome. Thank you for coming on and being able to open up and share about you and your process and what you went through. I just think it's so important for people to hear other people's stories, and so that's my goal with this, to really just kind of share stories from different people and how they became empowered and how sexuality changed their lives and just having these talks that we just don't have, So you can reach Lidia again. That's her information, House of Plume. So join her on Instagram, Facebook. Oh, what's your Facebook? Is it the same?
Yeah, Lidia Bonilla, my name.
Okay, the same on Facebook. So join her in one of those. Also add me, either Prandata Prim or Renee Adolfi. All of my stuff, you're going to find me with one of those names. And thank you guys again for being here, for coming out. This is awesome. I appreciate all of you because if you weren't here, I would not be here. So thank you guys.
Thank you for your attention and your energy and really your curiosity in being here. It says something about who you are, that you are connected, with, that you want to be more connected with yourself and your sexuality.
Yes. So thank you. Everyone have a good night. Thank you once again, Lidia. You have a wonderful night as well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome.